Daddy, her baby is freezing. 4 words, 1 choice. CEO Michael Carter had exactly 10 seconds to decide walk away and protect his billion-dollar empire or save a dying infant and destroy everything he'd built. The cameras were already rolling. By morning, his face would be everywhere. His board would demand answers. The media would crucify him. But his 4-year-old daughter was crying, and a homeless girl was holding a baby who'd stopped breathing. 10 seconds. What would you do? The baby wasn't breathing. Michael Carter saw it the moment Kelly pulled him toward the bench. 22 degrees, Christmas Eve, Rockefeller Center blazing with 50,000 lights, and on a snow-covered bench, a young woman clutched a bundle that wasn't moving. "Miss..." Michael was running before his brain caught up. "Miss, wake up!" Her eyes snapped open, green, terrified. "Get away from us! Your baby! Don't touch him!" She jerked backward and the bundle slipped. Michael caught it on instinct. The infant's lips were blue. "How long has he been like this?" Michael's voice cut through her panic. "He's sleeping. He's fine. Give him back." "He's not fine. Look at him." The girl looked, really looked. Her face went white. "Noah, oh God, Noah, baby, wake up." Michael made a decision that would cost him everything. "Kelly, your scarf, now." His daughter didn't hesitate. She unwrapped the red knitted scarf, her mother's last gift, and pressed it into Michael's hands. He wrapped the baby tight, rubbing the tiny chest through the wool. "Come on, kid, come on." "Nothing. We need an ambulance," the girl whispered. "We need no time." Michael pulled out his phone. "James, I need the car at Rockefeller Center, north entrance, 30 seconds. "Sir, I'm 10 minutes. 30 seconds. He hung up. The girl was crying now, clutching at the baby. "Who are you? Why are you helping us? Does it matter?" "Yes, nobody helps people like me." Michael looked at her, really looked. 20 years old, maybe. Oversized coat, no gloves, dirt under her fingernails, and eyes that had seen too much, too young. "What's your name?" "Grace. Grace Miller. Please, my baby." The bundle moved, a tiny cough, then a weak, beautiful cry. Grace shupped. Michael felt his own eyes sting. "Okay," he said. "Okay, but he's hypothermic. He needs warmth. Now, I own a hotel 6 blocks from here. I can get you both inside, get a doctor." "No." Grace backed up. "No hospitals. They'll take him. They'll say I'm unfit." "I said hotel, not hospital. My hotel, my doctor. No police, no questions. Just warmth." "Why?" "Because my daughter asked me to." Michael nodded toward Kelly, who was watching with enormous brown eyes. "And because 2 years ago I lost a baby too. So I know what it feels like to be desperate, and I'm not walking away." Grace stared at him, at Kelly, at Noah still crying weakly in his arms. "1 night," she whispered. "Then we're gone." "1 night," Michael agreed. Flash. Michael's head snapped up. Photographer, 30 feet away, camera raised already, moving backward into the crowd. "Damn it!" "What?" Grace's voice spiked with fear. "Nothing. Cars here. Come on." But it wasn't nothing. Michael's instincts, honed through 15 years of corporate warfare, were screaming. That wasn't a tourist. That was a professional, which meant someone had tipped them off, which meant this was already a problem. The Mercedes pulled up. James took one look at Grace and Noah and opened the door without a word. Michael helped Grace inside, then lifted Kelly in. "The Archer," Michael said. "Fast." And James, "We were never at Rockefeller Center tonight." James met his eyes in the rear-view mirror. "Understood, sir." The drive took 4 minutes. Grace stared out the window like she was seeing New York for the first time. "I used to walk past this hotel," she said quietly. "When I was at NYU, before, I used to imagine what it was like inside." "You went to NYU?" "Art scholarship. Lost it when I got pregnant. Lost everything," Kelly piped up. "Why did you lose it?" "Kelly," Michael started. "It's okay." Grace managed a small smile. "I made a choice, sweetheart. Had a baby instead of finishing school. My parents said it was the wrong choice. So did everyone else. Was it? Grace looked down at Noah. No, he's the only right choice I ever made. The car pulled up to the Archer. Michael's head of security, Marcus, was waiting at the private entrance. Penthouse ready, sir. Dr. Rivera is on her way up. Good, Marcus, I need complete discretion on this. Marcus's expression didn't change. Of course, sir. They rode the elevator in silence. Grace kept looking around like she expected someone to stop her, to tell her she didn't belong. The penthouse doors opened. Grace stopped walking. I can't, she whispered. This is too much. I'm going to ruin your carpets. You're going to sit down, Michael said firmly, and let the doctor examine your baby. That's all you're going to do. Dr. Elena Rivera was waiting in the living room. 50s kind eyes, the kind of competence that came from 30 years of emergency medicine. I'm Elena. You must be Grace. Grace nodded mutely. May I see Noah? For a long moment, Grace didn't move. Then slowly she held out the baby. Elena worked fast. Stethoscope, thermometer, gentle probing of tiny limbs. Moderate hypothermia, dehydration, possible malnutrition. He needs no hospitals. Grace lunged forward. I was going to say he needs warm fluids and monitoring, Elena said calmly, which I can provide here. But Grace, honey, if he gets worse. He won't. Please, they'll take him if we go to a hospital. I can't lose him. Elena looked at Michael. He nodded slightly. Okay, Elena said. I'll stay the night, monitor him, but you need to trust me. Can you do that? Grace's eyes filled with tears. Why are you all being so nice to us? Kelly walked over and took Grace's hand. Because it's Christmas, she said simply, and because you needed help. And Daddy says when people need help, you help, even if it's hard. Grace broke, full shaking sobs. Elena gently took Noah to the bedroom to start treatment. Kelly stayed with Grace holding her hand, this tiny 4-year-old, comforting a stranger twice her age. Michael's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He stepped into the hallway to answer. Mr. Carter, the voice was male, smooth, familiar, in a way that made Michael's skin crawl. Lovely evening at Rockefeller Center, wasn't it? Who is this? Victor Reynolds. We met at the Plaza Charity Gala last month. Michael's blood went cold. Victor Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Hospitality Group, his primary competitor. A man who'd spent 5 years trying to destroy the Archer's reputation. What do you want, Victor? Just wanted to congratulate you on your new charity case. Very photogenic. The girl, the baby, your daughter. It'll make a wonderful story. You had me followed. I had you watched. There's a difference. And honestly, Michael, I'm impressed. Most men in your position would have walked right past, but you couldn't resist playing hero. Get to the point. The point is I have photos, very clear photos. CEO of a luxury hotel chain picking up a homeless girl on Christmas Eve, taking her to his private penthouse, alone, with his young daughter present. The optics are questionable. Michael's hand tightened on the phone. That's not what happened. Isn't it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've just handed me everything I need to destroy you. Unless, of course, we can come to an arrangement. What kind of arrangement? Sell me the Archer, majority stake, 51%. I'll kill the story. Your reputation stays intact. You get to keep playing the devoted father and tragic widower. Everyone wins. And if I refuse, then by tomorrow morning, every news outlet in New York will have these photos, along with a very interesting narrative about a grieving CEO and his questionable judgment. Your board will panic, your investors will run, and the Archer, it'll be mine anyway, for pennies on the dollar. Michael looked through the doorway. Grace was still crying. Kelly was still holding her hand. Noah was in the next room, fighting for every breath. I need time to think. You have until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Merry Christmas, Michael. The line went dead. Michael stood in the hallway, phone in hand, watching his entire world balance on a knife's edge. He could sell, give Victor what he wanted, protect his company, his reputation, his daughter's future, or he could fight. and risk losing everything. In the living room, Grace laughed at something Kelly said. A small broken sound, but real. The first genuine laugh she'd probably had in months. Michael made his choice. He walked back into the room. "Grace," he said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." She looked up startled. Okay. If I asked you to stay here, not just tonight, but for a while, at my guest house in Connecticut, would you say yes?" Grace blinked. What? I have a guest house, empty. You could stay there, work remotely. I need someone to redesign the branding for my hotel chain. You're an artist. You need work. It's a real job, real pay, $900 a week to start. Are you interested? You're offering me a job. Grace's voice cracked. You don't even know if I can draw. Can you? Yes, but then you're hired, starting tomorrow. Why? The question came out as a whisper. Why would you do this? Michael looked at his daughter, at this young mother who'd lost everything, at the choice in front of him. Because someone told me I have until 8 a.m. to decide who I want to be, and I've decided. I don't understand. You don't need to. Just answer the question, will you stay? Grace looked at Noah sleeping peacefully now in Elena's arms, looked at Kelly smiling at her with absolute trust, looked at Michael, this stranger who'd given her back her son's life. Okay, she whispered. Yes, I'll stay. Michael's phone buzzed again. Text message, unknown number, a photo, him at Rockefeller Center bending over Grace, Kelly beside him. The angle made it look intimate, wrong. Below it, 8 a.m. Michael, clocks ticking. Michael deleted the message, looked up at Grace and Kelly and Elena, at this makeshift family he'd assembled in one impulsive night. Good, he said. Then we should eat. Elena, can Noah handle Grace stepping away for 20 minutes? He's stable. I've got him. Michael ordered room service. They ate together at the dining table pizza because Kelly insisted, and Grace looked like she'd cry if someone offered her anything fancy. They talked about nothing, everything. Kelly told Grace about her school. Grace told Kelly about the art she used to make. It was almost midnight when Grace finally asked the question, what happens tomorrow? Michael could have lied, should have lied, but Kelly was listening, and he'd promised himself 2 years ago that he'd never lie to his daughter again. Tomorrow, he said carefully, we're going to have some difficult conversations. People are going to ask questions about why you're here. They're going to say things that aren't true, and I'm going to need you to trust me. Can you do that? Grace's eyes widened. What kind of things? The kind designed to hurt us both. But Grace, I need you to hear me. I don't regret this, any of this, and I'm not going to let anyone take Noah from you, okay? You can't promise that. Watch me. His phone rang. Michael looked at the screen. Board chairman. At midnight on Christmas Eve. This was it. It was starting. He answered. Michael. Richard Blackwood's voice was tight. We have a problem. Someone just sent the entire board a photo of you with a homeless woman and her child. They're demanding an emergency meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. Who sent it? The email was anonymous, but Michael, this looks bad. Really bad. What the hell were you thinking? Michael looked at Grace, at Kelly, at the choice he'd made and would make again. I was thinking, Dad, he said quietly, that saving a child's life was more important than protecting my reputation. Your reputation is the company. If you go down, we all go down. Then I guess you'd better decide if you trust me, Richard. Silence. 10 a.m., Richard said finally. Conference room. Every board member. And Michael, you'd better have one hell of an explanation. He hung up. Grace was staring at Michael with horror. This is because of me. You're in trouble because of me. I'm in trouble because someone wants to destroy me and saw an opportunity. That's not your fault. What are you going to do? Michael smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I'm going to fight. His phone buzzed one more time. Another text, another photo, this one of Grace entering the hotel. The timestamp 7:43 p.m. and below it, last chance Michael, 8 a.m. Tick-tock. Michael looked up at Grace, at Kelly, at the life he'd accidentally assembled tonight, at everything he stood to lose, and he thought, let them come. Grace, he said, tomorrow I'm taking you and Noah to Connecticut, to the guest house. You're going to stay there while I handle this. You're going to be safe, both of you. I promise. But your company will survive or it won't. But either way, you don't belong in this fight. So you're going to Connecticut, and you're going to start sketching, and you're not going to read the news. Deal. Grace nodded, tears streaming down her face. Deal. Kelly yawned, enormous and infectious. Is Grace really staying with us, Daddy? Yes, sweetheart. Good, I like her, and Noah needs someone to protect him, like you protect me. Michael lifted Kelly into his arms. Time for bed, little one. Can Grace stay in the room next to mine so Noah can hear if I sing to him? Grace's breath caught. You do that. My room is boring, Kelly said seriously. But the yellow room has the pretty curtains. Noah would like those. Then the yellow room it is, Michael said. He carried Kelly to her bedroom, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. Daddy, she whispered, are we in trouble? No, baby, we're okay. Promise? He couldn't, shouldn't, but those brown eyes were looking at him with complete faith. Promise, he lied. When he came back to the living room, Grace was standing by the window looking out at the city. I should leave, she said quietly. Before this gets worse. It's already worse. Leaving won't fix it. But staying will make it worse for you. Michael walked over to stand beside her. Down below, New York glittered with Christmas lights. Somewhere out there, Victor Reynolds was planning his next move. The board was panicking, the media was circling, and in this penthouse, a baby was breathing steadily for the first time in days. Let me tell you something about worse, Michael said. 2 years ago, I lost my wife and child on Christmas Eve. I held Sarah's hand while she died. I buried a baby I never got to meet. That was worse. Everything else is just noise. Grace turned to look at him. I'm so sorry. Don't be. Just stay. Do your job. Let me do mine. And Grace, when this is over, when the dust settles, I'm going to make you a promise. You're never going to sleep on a bench again. You're never going to wonder if your baby is going to make it through the night. That's over. You hear me? That part of your life is over. You can't promise that. Watch me. Grace smiled, a real smile this time, small, fragile, but real. Okay, Michael Carter, I'll stay. Good, now get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Grace went to the yellow room where Elena had set up Noah's makeshift crib. Michael stood alone in the living room, phone in hand, staring at Victor's text. 8 a.m. He had 8 hours to prepare for war. He started making calls. The first call Michael made was to his lawyer. David, I need you at the Archer, now. David Chen had been Michael's attorney for 12 years. He'd handled the acquisition of 4 hotel chains, 2 hostile takeover attempts, and Sarah's estate. He'd never heard Michael sound like this. It's 12:30 a.m. on Christmas, Michael. What happened? I'm being blackmailed, and in 9 hours, my board is going to try to fire me. Silence. Then I'll be there in 20 minutes. The second call was to Marcus, his head of security. I need everything you can find on Victor Reynolds. Bank records, business deals, personal life, everything. And Marcus, I don't care how you get it, just get it. That's technically illegal, sir. So is blackmail. Can you do it or not? I'll have something by morning. The third call was the hardest. Michael stood at the window watching the city sleep and dialed a number he hadn't called in 6 months. Michael. His mother-in-law's voice was thick with sleep and surprise. Is everything all right? Is Kelly? Kelly's fine, Margaret. I need a favor. At this hour, I need you to take Kelly to Connecticut tomorrow, to the estate. Keep her there for a few days, away from the city. Why, what's going on? Michael closed his eyes. I did something tonight, something good, but it's going to look bad, really bad, and I don't want Kelly to see the news. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Does this have something to do with Sarah? Everything I do has something to do with Sarah. I mean, are you trying to replace her? No. Michael's voice cracked. I'm trying to honor her. She would have stopped. She would have helped. You know she would have. Yes, Margaret whispered. She would have. Okay, I'll pick up Kelly at 8. Thank you. Michael, whatever you did, I hope it was worth it. Michael looked toward the yellow bedroom where Grace and Noah were sleeping. It was. David arrived at 12:47 a.m. with a briefcase and 3 thermoses of coffee. They sat at the dining table and Michael told him everything. The bench, Grace, Noah, Victor's call, the photos. When he finished, David was quiet for a long time. You know what they're going to say. I know. CEO picks up young homeless woman, takes her to his private penthouse, offers her money and housing. It looks like, I know what it looks like. Michael cut him off, but that's not what it is. Can you prove that Grace can testify? David shook his head. A desperate homeless woman whose housing and income depend on you. Her testimony is worthless. They'll say you coerced her. Dr. Rivera was there. She works for you, Michael. Everyone who can vouch for you is on your payroll. The optics are terrible. So what do I do? David pulled out a legal pad. Best case scenario, you sell Victor what he wants. He kills the story. You take a financial hit but survive professionally. And worst case, you fight. The photos go public. Your board panics. Investors pull out. Stock drops 30, maybe 40%. Reynolds swoops in with a hostile takeover bid. You lose the company anyway, plus your reputation. There has to be another option. There isn't, not a good one. Michael stared at his coffee. What would Sarah say? David smiled sadly. Sarah would tell you to do the right thing and damn the consequences. But Sarah didn't have a company to protect or a daughter to raise alone. Kelly asked me tonight if we were in trouble. I told her no. Did you lie? Yes. They worked until 4 a.m. building a defense that felt like cardboard against a hurricane. At 4:15, Michael's phone buzzed. Marcus, I've got something, not much, but something. Tell me. 3 months ago, Reynolds tried to bribe a health inspector to shut down the Archer. Inspector reported it. Reynolds paid a fine. It was buried, but it's on record. That's it. For now. But sir, I've got people digging. If there's more, we'll find it. Keep looking. At 6 a.m., Michael went to check on Grace. She was awake, sitting in a rocking chair with Noah watching the sunrise over Central Park. Couldn't sleep, she said quietly. Me neither. I heard you on the phone. You're in real trouble, aren't you? Michael sat on the edge of the bed. Yes, because of me. Because of Victor Reynolds. You're just the excuse he needed. Grace shifted Noah to her other arm. Tell me the truth. If you could go back to last night, would you still stop? Michael thought about it. Really thought about it. Thought about the board meeting in 4 hours, the scandal, the fight ahead. Yes, he said. Every time. Why? Because 2 years ago, nobody stopped for me. When Sarah was dying, when I was falling apart, everyone just kept walking, kept living their lives. And I swore if I ever had the chance to be different, to be better, I would. So yes, I'd stop every time. Grace's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is about to get ugly. At 7 a.m., Kelly woke up. Michael made her pancakes while Elena gave Noah a final checkup. He's doing well, Elena reported. Temperature's normal, breathing's clear. He's a fighter. Like his mama, Kelly announced, syrup on her chin. Grace laughed. Actually laughed. At 7:30, Margaret arrived. Michael had expected questions, judgment maybe. Instead, his mother-in-law took one look at Grace and Noah, and her expression softened. You must be Grace. Grace stood awkwardly. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry for the trouble. Hush. Any girl who has a baby needs help, not apologies. Margaret turned to Michael. She looks just like Sarah did. After Kelly was born, that same exhausted, terrified, absolutely fierce look. Michael hadn't seen it before, but she was right. Kelly hugged Grace goodbye. You'll be at the big house when I get there, right? You and Noah. Grace looked at Michael. He nodded. I'll be there, sweetie. Promise. I promise. After they left, Michael turned to Grace. I need you to pack. James will drive you to Connecticut within the hour. What about you? I have a meeting, then I'll follow. Michael. Grace, listen to me. In about 2 hours, your face is going to be all over the news. Reporters are going to find out who you are. They're going to dig up everything. Your parents, your ex, why you lost your scholarship. They're going to make you look bad to make me look worse. I need you far away from that. Grace's face went pale. My parents, they'll see. Probably. Good. Her voice hardened. Let them see what their disappointment term looks like. At 8:15, Michael's phone rang. Victor Reynolds. Michael answered on speaker. David leaned forward. Time's up, Michael. What's it going to be? I'm not selling. Silence. Then Victor laughed. Brave. Stupid but brave. Okay, let's do this the hard way. He hung up. 3 minutes later, Michael's phone exploded. Text after text, email after email, news alerts. Breaking billionaire CEO caught in scandal with homeless woman. Michael Carter's secret relationship, what we know. Archer Hotel's CEO under fire for inappropriate conduct. And photos, dozens of photos. Him bending over Grace at the bench, helping her into the car, walking her into the hotel. The angles made everything look intimate, secretive, wrong. David's phone rang, then Michael's office line, then the building's main number. It's starting, David said. Get Grace out of here, now. James had the car running. Michael walked Grace and Noah down the private elevator, through the service entrance into the Mercedes. When this is over, Grace said through the window, I'm paying you back, somehow. I don't know how, but just take care of Noah. That's payment enough. The car pulled away. Michael watched it disappear into traffic, then turned to face the building, his building, the one he'd bought with Sarah, the one he'd built into an empire, the one he might lose today. At 9:45, Michael and David walked into the conference room. All 12 board members were already there. Richard Blackwood sat at the head of the table, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Michael, David, sit. They sat. I assume you've seen the news, Richard said. I have. Care to explain? I helped a young mother and her child. That's it. That's the whole story. That's not what the photos suggest. The photos are misleading, deliberately so. Another board member, Catherine Mills, slid a tablet across the table. This is what's trending on Twitter right now. Rich CEO exploits homeless girl. Michael Carter's scandal. Archer Hotel's sex scandal. Our stock is down 18%. Investors are calling. Do you understand how bad this is? I understand perfectly. Then explain to us, Richard said slowly, why you thought it was appropriate to bring a homeless stranger to your penthouse, alone, on Christmas Eve. I wasn't alone. My daughter was there. Dr. Rivera was there. And the woman's name is Grace Miller. She's 21 years old. She was sleeping on a bench in 20-degree weather with a hypothermic infant. What exactly was I supposed to do? Walk past, call 911, Catherine said. Let professionals handle it. The baby wasn't breathing. There wasn't time. So you took her to your penthouse to get her warm, to get the baby medical attention. And then you offered her a job and housing. Michael, you must see how this looks. Michael leaned forward. I see exactly how it looks. I see that Victor Reynolds hired a photographer to follow me, to manufacture a scandal, to create exactly this situation. And I see that instead of trusting me, you're playing right into his hands. This isn't about trust, Richard said. This is about the company, our reputation. Our reputation is built on service, on compassion, on the idea that we treat people with dignity. Or is that just marketing copy? Don't lecture us about. David's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, went pale, and slid it to Michael. It was an article, posted 10 minutes ago. Grace Miller, from art student to homeless mother, the full story. Michael's hands shook as he read. They'd found everything. Grace's parents, her scholarship, the pregnancy. They'd interviewed her ex-boyfriend who called her unstable. They'd talked to former classmates who said she always needed attention. They'd built a narrative of a troubled girl who seduced a grieving billionaire. It was character assassination, perfectly executed. "This is what Victor does," Michael said quietly. "He destroys people, and you're going to let him do it to us. You're trying to protect yourselves. There's a difference." Richard stood. "Michael, we're calling for a vote. Either you step down as CEO temporarily while we investigate, or we remove you. Those are your options." "You can't remove me. I own 43% of this company, and we own 57 together, so yes, we can." Michael looked around the table, at people he'd worked with for years, people he'd trusted, people who were looking at him like he was a stranger. "If you do this," Michael said, "Victor wins. He'll make an offer for the company within 24 hours. He'll lowball it, and you'll be so desperate to save face that you'll take it." That's speculation. That's his playbook. Ask Marcus. He's been investigating Reynolds all night. Marcus stepped forward, placed a folder on the table. 3 months ago, Reynolds attempted to bribe a city health inspector to manufacture violations at the Archer. The inspector reported it. Reynolds paid a $50,000 fine. It was kept quiet, but it's documented. Catherine flipped through the folder. "This proves he's corrupt. It doesn't prove the photos are fake." "The photos aren't fake," Michael said. "They're just taken out of context. Grace Miller is a real person with a real baby who was really dying. I really helped her. That's the truth. Everything else is spin." "Where is she now?" Richard asked. "Safe, away from reporters. We need to interview her." "No." "Michael, no, she's been through enough. I'm not putting her in front of cameras to be torn apart so we can save our stock price." "Then we have a problem," Richard said. "Because without her testimony, all we have is your word against some very damaging photos." Michael's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then something made him look. It was Grace. "I need to take this." He stepped into the hallway. "Grace, what's wrong?" "Turn on the news." Her voice was shaking. "Channel 7, right now." Michael pulled out his tablet, found the channel, and there was Victor Reynolds. Live interview. Sitting in a pristine studio, looking concerned and earnest. "Mr. Reynolds, you've had business dealings with Michael Carter in the past. What's your reaction to these photos?" "Look, I want to be careful here," Victor said. "Michael is a colleague, but I'm also a father, and when I see a powerful man taking advantage of a vulnerable young woman, I have to speak up. You believe he's taking advantage of her. The pattern is clear. Young, desperate, dependent on him for housing and income. It's textbook exploitation. Have you spoken to Mr. Carter about this?" "I tried. I called him this morning, offered to help handle the situation quietly. He hung up on me." The lie was so smooth, so perfect, that Michael almost believed it himself. Grace's voice came through the phone. "He's lying. Michael, he's lying on national television." "I know. What do we do?" Michael looked back at the conference room, at the board members who'd already decided he was guilty, at the company he'd built, at the choice in front of him. "We tell the truth," he said. He walked back into the conference room, held up the tablet showing Victor's interview. "This is what we're dealing with. A man willing to lie on national television, to destroy a young mother's reputation, to manipulate all of you into doing exactly what he wants, and you're going to let him." "Michael, no, you've said your piece. Now I'm saying mine. Grace Miller was dying on that bench. Her baby was dying. I stopped. I helped. I gave her a chance to rebuild her life. That's it. There's no scandal, no exploitation, just one human being helping another, and if that costs me this company, then this company isn't worth having." The room went silent. Then Catherine said, "What are you proposing? Give me 72 hours. Don't vote. Don't make statements. Let me handle this. If I can't fix it in 3 days, I'll step down, voluntarily." Richard shook his head. "That's not good enough." "It's more than generous," David interjected. "Legally, Michael doesn't have to step down at all. He's offering you a compromise. The stock will recover or it won't. But making rash decisions under pressure is how companies die." You know that, Richard. Richard looked at the other board members. Unspoken conversations happened in glances and subtle nods. 72 hours, Richard said finally. But Michael, if this gets worse, if there's any hint of impropriety, we vote. Immediately. Understood. Michael left the building at 11:30. His phone had 247 unread messages. His email had crashed twice. Every news outlet in New York wanted a comment. He ignored all of it and called Grace. How bad is it? She asked. Bad, but survivable. How are you? Scared. Michael, they called my parents. A reporter called my parents and they gave an interview. They said I was always troubled, that I made poor choices, that they're not surprised I'm in this situation. Michael heard the break in her voice. Grace, they said they hope I get the help I need. On camera. My own parents. I'm sorry. Don't be. They're right. I did make poor choices, getting pregnant, dropping out, ending up homeless. They're all poor choices. No, Noah isn't a poor choice. Keeping him, loving him, protecting him, those aren't poor choices. Those are the only good choices. Grace was crying now. Then why does everyone think I'm the villain? Because villains are easier to understand than victims. Because your story is complicated and people hate complicated. But Grace, listen to me. This isn't over. We're going to fight back. Together. Okay. How? I don't know yet. But we will. Michael hung up and stared at the city. Somewhere out there, Victor was celebrating. The board was panicking. Grace's parents were giving interviews. The media was circling like sharks. And Michael had 72 hours to fix it all. His phone buzzed one more time. Margaret. Michael, you need to see this. I'm sending you a video. Kelly recorded it on my phone this morning before we left. The video loaded. It was Kelly sitting on the floor of the penthouse talking directly to the camera. Hi, my name is Kelly Carter. I'm 4 years old. Last night my daddy and me saw a lady and her baby on a bench. The baby wasn't moving. He was too cold. My daddy helped them. He gave them his coat. I gave them my scarf, the one my mommy made before she died. We help them because that's what you're supposed to do when someone needs help. My daddy says people are saying bad things about the angel lady now, but she's not bad. She was just cold and scared and she needed help. And my daddy is good. He's the best daddy in the whole world. So if people are saying bad things, they're wrong. They're just wrong. The video ended. Michael watched it 3 more times, tears streaming down his face. Then he forwarded it to David with one message. Post this everywhere, right now. David called back immediately. Michael, are you sure using Kelly? She already recorded it. I'm not using her. I'm letting her speak. The media can go to hell. Post it. David posted the video at 1:47 p.m. By 2:00 p.m. it had 10,000 views. By 3:00 p.m. it had gone viral. By 4:00 p.m. the narrative started to shift. 4-year-old defends father in homeless woman scandal. Kelly Carter's heartbreaking video. Is Michael Carter a villain or a hero? The board called an emergency session for 6:00 p.m. Michael knew what it meant. They were going to vote. 3 days early, while public opinion was still shifting. He had 2 hours to save everything, and he had absolutely no idea how. Michael had 90 minutes to figure out how to save his company when Marcus called. Sir, you need to come to the lobby now. Marcus, I don't have time. There are 40 reporters outside, and Grace Miller just walked through the front door. Michael's blood went cold. What? She saw Kelly's video. She's demanding to speak to the press. Sir, she's about to walk out there. Michael ran. Down the elevator, through the corridor, into the lobby, where Grace stood facing the glass doors. Noah strapped to her chest, her shoulders squared like she was heading into battle. Grace, stop. She turned. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set. I can't let Kelly fight my battles. She's 4 years old, Michael. And you're 21 with a 6-month-old baby. You don't owe these people anything. I owe Kelly everything. She gave Noah her mother's scarf. She stood up for me on camera. The least I can do is tell the truth. They'll destroy you. They already have. My parents went on television and called me troubled. My ex called me unstable. What else is left? Michael grabbed her shoulders. Your dignity, your privacy, your chance to start over. Grace, once you walk out there, you can't take it back. Good, I don't want to take it back. She pulled away and headed for the doors. Michael caught her arm. Wait, if you're going to do this, do it right. Not out there with 40 people shouting questions. Here, controlled. One reporter, on our terms. Grace hesitated. Who? Sarah Chen, New York Times. She's fair. She'll let you tell your story. And if I tell it and nothing changes, then at least you told it. Your way. Your words. Grace looked down at Noah, then back at Michael. Okay, call her. Sarah Chen arrived 23 minutes later with a recorder and a notepad. Michael set them up in a conference room, then started to leave. Stay, Grace said, please. So Michael sat beside her while Sarah asked the questions everyone wanted answered. How did you meet Michael Carter? Grace's voice shook but held. I was sleeping on a bench at Rockefeller Center. My son was hypothermic. Mr. Carter's daughter noticed us. She asked her father to help. He did. Why were you homeless? I got pregnant at 19, lost my scholarship. My parents gave me a choice: abortion or disownment. I chose my son. They chose to forget I existed. What happened at the hotel? Mr. Carter gave us warmth and medical care. His doctor examined Noah, saved his life probably. Then Mr. Carter offered me a job and a place to stay. Real work for real pay. No strings. Just kindness I didn't know still existed. Sarah leaned forward. Grace, some people are suggesting the relationship was inappropriate, that Mr. Carter took advantage. Then some people are liars. Grace's voice went hard. Mr. Carter lost his wife 2 years ago. He knows what grief looks like, what desperation looks like. He saw a mother trying to keep her baby alive, and he helped. That's it. Anyone saying different is selling newspapers, not truth. His daughter made a video defending him. I know, I saw it, and that's why I'm here, because Kelly Carter is 4 years old, and she's braver than most adults I know. She stood up for what's right, so I'm standing up too. Sarah scribbled notes. What do you want people to know? Grace was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. I want them to know that homelessness isn't a choice, that being poor doesn't make you worthless, that making mistakes doesn't mean you deserve to freeze to death on a bench. And I want them to know that Michael Carter is a good man who did a good thing, and if that costs him everything, then we've all failed. Not him, us. The interview ran for 40 minutes. When it was over, Sarah packed up her recorder. This will be online in an hour, print edition tomorrow. Grace, you're very brave. I'm very tired, Grace corrected, but thank you. After Sarah left, Grace collapsed into a chair, shaking. Did I say the right things? You said true things, that's better. Grace's phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then something made her look. It was her mother. Grace stared at the screen like it might explode. Michael watched her face cycle through a dozen emotions before she finally answered. Mom. Grace, we saw the interview. Your father and I, Her mother's voice cracked. We made a mistake. Grace's hand tightened on the phone. You disowned me. You called me troubled on national television. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. We were scared and angry, and we thought we were doing the right thing. The right thing was helping your daughter. The right thing was meeting your grandson, but you chose pride over family. So don't call now because the media is watching. Don't call because you're embarrassed. Just don't call. Grace, please. I have a family now, people who actually care if Noah and I live or die. So thank you for calling, but it's too late. She hung up, turned off her phone, looked at Michael with eyes that were dry but devastated. I thought I'd feel better saying that, but I just feel empty. That's how grief works. Anger first, then emptiness, then eventually something like peace. Or so Sarah used to say. Grace managed a small smile. Your wife was smart. The smartest person I knew. Michael's phone buzzed. David. The interview just posted. It's trending. Comments are mostly supportive. But Michael, the board meeting is in 40 minutes. They're still planning to vote. Then let them vote. He hung up and looked at Grace. You should go back to Connecticut. Margaret's there with Kelly. You'll be safe. What about you? I have a meeting to attend. You're going to lose, aren't you? Michael thought about lying, decided against it. Probably. Because of me. Because of Victor Reynolds and a board too scared to fight. You're just the excuse. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. Grace stood, walked over, and did something that surprised them both. She hugged him, a real hug, fierce and grateful and goodbye. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. She left with Marcus, heading back to Connecticut, and Michael stood alone in the conference room staring at his phone. 53 minutes until the board voted him out. 53 minutes to figure out a miracle. His phone rang, unknown number. Michael was about to ignore it when curiosity won. Michael Carter. Mr. Carter, my name is Jennifer Wu. I'm a senior producer at CNN. We'd like to offer you airtime, tonight, prime time, to tell your side of the story. I appreciate the offer, but we've seen Grace Miller's interview. We've seen your daughter's video. The narrative is shifting, Mr. Carter, but it needs a push. One interview, 30 minutes. Let people see who you really are. Michael looked at his watch. My board is voting in 50 minutes. Then you'd better talk fast. The CNN studio was 12 blocks away. Michael made it in 8 minutes. They rushed him into makeup, clipped a microphone to his collar, and sat him across from Jennifer Wu, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. We're live in 30 seconds, Mr. Carter. Are you ready? No, she smiled. Good. Neither are they. The red light came on. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Wu, and tonight we have an exclusive interview with Michael Carter, CEO of Archer Hotels, at the center of what many are calling the scandal of the season. Mr. Carter, thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me. Let's get right to it. You picked up a homeless woman and her child on Christmas Eve, took them to your private penthouse, offered her money and housing. Critics say this was inappropriate. What do you say? Michael looked directly into the camera. I say I saw a baby dying and I helped. That's it. There's no scandal, no exploitation, just a father teaching his daughter that when someone needs help, you help. Yeah, but surely you must see how it looks. I see exactly how it looks. To people who've never been desperate, who've never held a child who's stopped breathing, who've never felt so helpless that death seems easier than asking for help. I see how it looks to people who've forgotten what compassion means. But I also see how it looks to my 4-year-old daughter, and she sees a hero who saved a baby. So which version matters more? Jennifer leaned forward. Your daughter made a very emotional video today. She did, without my knowledge or permission, because even at 4 years old, Kelly knows the difference between right and wrong. She knows Grace Miller isn't a villain, she's a survivor. Grace's parents have made some concerning statements. Grace's parents disowned their pregnant daughter and are now trying to save face. I'm not interested in their narrative. What about Victor Reynolds? He's suggested you're manipulating the situation. Michael laughed, actually laughed. Victor Reynolds tried to blackmail me into selling him my company. When I refused, he leaked photos designed to destroy my reputation. He's not a concerned colleague. He's a competitor who saw an opportunity and took it. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. That's a serious accusation. It's a documented fact. He called me at midnight on Christmas Eve, demanded I sell him majority stake in the Archer, or he'd release the photos. I have the phone records, I have witnesses, and I have evidence that 3 months ago he tried to bribe a city health inspector to manufacture violations at my hotel. Do you have proof of this? Michael pulled out his phone, held up Marcus's folder on camera. I have a 50-page report compiled by my head of security, bank records, witness statements, everything. Victor Reynolds is a criminal hiding behind a good suit. and I'm done being quiet about it." Jennifer's producer was frantically signaling from off-camera. They were going viral, real-time. "Mr. Carter, your board is meeting tonight to vote on your future with the company. What do you want to say to them?" Michael looked into the camera again. "I want to say that 2 years ago I lost everything that mattered. My wife, my second child, my faith in basically everything. I survived by building walls, by controlling every detail, by never ever letting myself be vulnerable again. And then my daughter saw a woman freezing on a bench and asked me to help. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt something other than grief. I felt useful. I felt human. So yes, I helped her, and yes, I offered her work. And no, I don't regret it, because if building an empire means losing my humanity, then the empire isn't worth having." The interview ran 28 minutes. Michael left the studio at 5:47 p.m. and raced back to the Archer. The board meeting started at 6. He made it at 5:59. All 12 board members were already seated. Richard looked exhausted. Catherine looked angry. The others looked conflicted. "Michael," Richard said, "we saw the interview." "Good. Then you know Victor Reynolds is behind this. You know he's trying to manipulate." "We know," Catherine interrupted. "We've been doing our own investigating. Marcus sent us his report an hour ago. You're right. Reynolds is dirty." Michael blinked. "Then why are we here?" "Because the stock is still down. Investors are still panicking, and the optics are still terrible. Michael, we believe you. We believe Grace, but belief doesn't pay dividends." "What are you saying?" Richard slid a document across the table. "We're saying take a leave of absence. 6 months. Let David run things. Let the scandal die down, then come back when the dust settles." "No." "Michael, I said no. I'm not hiding. I'm not running. I did the right thing and I'm standing by it." "Then we have no choice," Catherine said quietly. "We have to vote." "Then vote." Richard called for hands. "All in favor of removing Michael Carter as CEO, effective immediately." Michael watched hands rise around the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'd lost. Then Catherine's phone rang. She glanced at it, went pale, and answered. "Yes, what are you certain?" She hung up and looked at Richard. "Turn on the television, channel 4, right now." Richard grabbed the remote. The screen flickered to life, and there was Victor Reynolds, being led out of his office in handcuffs. Victor Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Hospitality Group, was arrested this evening on charges of bribery, fraud, and attempted extortion. Sources say the charges stem from a months-long investigation into his business practices. More details as they develop. The room went silent. Michael's phone buzzed. "Marcus, I sent everything to the FBI 3 hours ago. Every document, every recording. That call on Christmas Eve, I recorded it. With your permission, of course, which you gave when you said, whatever it takes." Michael almost laughed. "Marcus, you beautiful, terrifying man." "Just doing my job, sir." The news continued. The reporter was now interviewing an FBI agent. "Can you comment on what triggered this investigation?" "We received a comprehensive report from a private security firm detailing multiple instances of fraud and corruption. Once we verified the information, we moved quickly. Mr. Reynolds will face multiple charges." Catherine muted the television. The board members were staring at Michael like he'd performed a magic trick. "You did this," Richard said. "You took down Reynolds." "I defended myself," Michael corrected. "There's a difference." Richard stood, walked around the table, extended his hand. "I'm sorry, we should have trusted you." Michael shook his hand. "Yes, you should have. The vote is rescinded. You keep your position. And Michael, I'm sorry about your wife. I never said that. After Sarah died, I should have." "Thank you." The board filed out, leaving Michael alone with David. "You knew," Michael said, "about Marcus sending the files to the FBI. You knew." David smiled. "I'm your lawyer. I know everything. And for the record, Sarah would be proud. Reckless, maybe, but proud." Michael drove to Connecticut that night, arriving just after 9. The estate was lit up, warm light spilling from every window. Margaret met him at the door. Kelly's asleep. Grace is in the library. She's been watching the news. Michael found her there, curled up on the couch, Noah sleeping against her chest. "Hey," he said softly. Grace looked up. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. "You did it. You actually did it." "We did it. Your interview changed everything." "No, you standing up changed everything. I just told the truth." Michael sat beside her. They watched the fire in silence for a moment. "What happens now?" Grace asked. "Now you start working. Real work. The rebrand project is real. I need logos, brochures, website designs. Think you can handle it? I haven't drawn anything in months." "Then it's time to start again." Grace shifted Noah gently. "Michael, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Okay. Why did you really help me? And don't say it was for Kelly. There's more to it." Michael was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "Because when Sarah died, I wanted to die too. For months I went through the motions, took care of Kelly, ran the company, but inside I was just waiting for something. I didn't know what. And then I saw you on that bench, and I saw myself. Someone who'd lost everything, someone who was just trying to survive one more day. And I thought, if I can save her, maybe I can save myself too." Grace reached over and took his hand. "Did it work?" Michael thought about the last 48 hours. The fear, the fight, the moment he'd looked at that board and said the empire wasn't worth having if it cost his humanity. "Yeah," he said. "I think it did." Upstairs, Kelly appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. "Daddy, is Grace staying?" "Yes, sweetheart, Grace is staying." "Forever?" Grace laughed. "For a while, at least." "Good, because Noah needs someone to sing to him, and you need someone to teach you how to make pancakes. Daddies are terrible." "Hey," Michael protested. Kelly patted down the stairs and climbed into Grace's lap, careful not to squish Noah. "Daddy, are the bad people gone now?" "Yes, baby, they're gone." "Good, I didn't like them. They were mean about Grace." "I know." Kelly yawned, enormous and infectious. "Can I sleep here with Grace and Noah just for tonight?" Grace looked at Michael. He nodded. "Sure, sweetheart, just for tonight." But it wouldn't be just for tonight. Michael knew that. Kelly had decided Grace and Noah were family now. And what Kelly decided usually became reality. Margaret appeared with blankets and pillows, and they made a nest on the library floor. Kelly curled up against Grace's side, her small hand resting on Noah's back. Within minutes, she was asleep. Michael covered them with a blanket, then stood looking at this strange, beautiful family he'd accidentally created. Grace looked up at him. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me when everyone else looked away." "Thank you for letting me." Michael left them there and walked outside onto the terrace. The December air was cold and clean. In the distance, he could see the lights of the city. Somewhere out there, Victor Reynolds was sitting in a cell. The board was issuing statements. The media was rewriting their narratives. And here, in this quiet house, a homeless girl was sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. Her baby was warm and safe. His daughter was happy. Michael pulled out his phone and opened his photos, found the last picture of Sarah taken 3 weeks before she died. She was laughing at something Kelly had said, her hand resting on her pregnant belly, joy radiating from every pixel. "I think you'd like her," Michael said to the photo. "Grace, she's stubborn and scared and brave all at once, kind of like you. And Kelly adores her. She calls her the Angel Lady." The wind picked up cold against his face. "I miss you," Michael whispered. "Every single day. But for the first time in 2 years, I feel like I'm living again. Not just surviving, actually living. And I think you'd be okay with that." He stood there for a long time, holding his phone, talking to his dead wife, making peace with the choice to keep moving forward. Inside, through the window, he could see Grace and Kelly and Noah, all sleeping peacefully in their nest of blankets. Margaret was sitting nearby, keeping watch. This grandmother who'd lost her daughter but gained an unexpected family. Michael's phone buzzed. Text from David. Stocks recovering, up 4% in after-hours trading. The board is issuing a statement supporting you, and CNN wants a follow-up interview. Thoughts? Michael typed back, no more interviews. Let the work speak for itself. Another text, this one from Marcus. Sir, there are 3 homeless shelters in Manhattan that have reached capacity tonight. If the Archer wanted to offer rooms at cost, I could arrange it. Just a thought. Michael smiled. Do it. And Marcus, make it permanent. Every Christmas Eve. Any shelter that's full, we take the overflow. No questions asked. Yes, sir. One more text. This one from a number Michael didn't recognize at first. Then he realized it was Sarah Chen from the Times. Grace's interview is the most read article of the day. You're both trending for the right reasons now. People are donating to homeless charities in Noah's name. Thought you'd want to know. Michael looked at the sky. Wherever Sarah was, he hoped she was seeing this. Hoped she knew that their daughter was growing up brave and kind. Hoped she understood that helping Grace wasn't about replacing her. It was about honoring everything she'd taught him. The terrace door opened. Grace stepped out, Noah in her arms. Kelly's asleep. Margaret's with her. Thought you might want company. Always. They stood together looking at the city lights, 2 people who'd both lost everything and somehow found each other. Michael, can I ask you something? Anything. When this is all over, when the news cycle moves on and people forget, will you regret it? Helping me? Michael looked at her. Really looked. At this young woman who'd survived things that would have broken most people. Who'd chosen her child over comfort. Who'd stood in front of cameras and told the truth, even when it hurt. No, he said, I'll never regret it. You reminded me what it feels like to be human. And Grace, you're going to do amazing things. I can feel it. How do you know? Because survivors always do. Inside, Kelly stirred, calling out for her daddy. Michael turned to go, but Grace caught his arm. Michael, your wife, Sarah, she'd be proud of you. How do you know? Because I'm a mother, and if something ever happened to me, I'd want someone exactly like you to take care of Noah, someone brave enough to do the right thing even when it's hard. Michael's throat tightened. Thank you. He went inside to his daughter. Grace stayed on the terrace, holding Noah, looking at the stars. And somewhere in the city, the world kept turning. The news kept churning. Life kept happening. But in this house, on this night, everyone was safe. Everyone was warm. Everyone was home. 3 weeks passed before Grace picked up a pencil. Michael found her in the guest house studio he'd set up, staring at a blank sketch pad like it might bite her. Noah was napping in a bassinet nearby, and through the window Kelly's laughter echoed from the garden, where Margaret was teaching her to plant winter bulbs. How long have you been sitting there? Michael asked. Grace didn't look up. 2 hours, maybe 3. And how many lines have you drawn? None. Michael pulled up a chair. Why? Because what if I can't anymore? What if I lost it? What if you gave me this job and I can't actually do it? Grace, you were at NYU on a full scholarship. You didn't lose anything. That was before Noah, before being homeless, before everything. Before doesn't matter. Now matters. So pick up the pencil. Grace's hand trembled as she lifted it. What if it's terrible? Then it's terrible and we try again tomorrow. But Grace, you can't fail at something you won't even attempt. She put pencil to paper. 1 line. Then another. Her hand moved slowly at first, then faster, muscle memory taking over. Within minutes she was lost in it, sketching the view from the window. The garden, the winter trees, Kelly's small figure kneeling in the dirt. Michael watched for a moment, then quietly left her to it. He found Margaret in the kitchen preparing lunch. How's she doing? Margaret asked. She's drawing, finally. And how are you doing? Michael poured himself coffee. Fine. Michael. I said I'm fine. Margaret put down her knife. You saved that girl's life. You nearly lost your company doing it. Victor Reynolds is facing federal charges because of evidence you provided. And you're standing in my kitchen saying you're fine, so I'll ask again. How are you really doing? Michael sat heavily at the table. I don't know. Some days I wake up and I think Sarah would be proud. Other days I think I'm using Grace to fill a hole that can't be filled. And then Kelly calls Grace almost mommy, and I don't know whether to correct her or let it be. She said that yesterday Grace was reading her a bedtime story, and Kelly said, "You're like an almost mommy, not my real mommy because she's in heaven, but almost." Grace cried for 20 minutes. What did you say? Nothing. What could I say Kelly's for? She's processing grief the only way she knows how, and Grace is the first woman besides you who's shown her maternal care since Sarah died. Of course she's attached. Margaret sat across from him. And are you attached to Grace? Yes. Michael was quiet. She's 21 years old with a baby. I'm a 38-year-old widower with a company to run. There's nothing there except gratitude and proximity. That's not what I asked. Margaret, do you have feelings for her? She's my employee and a guest in my home and someone I'm helping. Feelings would be inappropriate. That's still not an answer. Michael stood abruptly. I have a conference call at 2. I should go. Running away won't make the question disappear. But Michael was already gone, and Margaret was left alone in the kitchen, shaking her head at men who couldn't see what was right in front of them. That afternoon, David arrived from the city with contracts and updates. They sat in Michael's home office while David laid out the situation. Stocks fully recovered. Up 6% from pre-scandal levels, actually. The board is happy, investors are happy, and we've had 12 major publications request interviews. I'm not doing interviews. I told them that. But Michael, there's one you should consider. Forbes. They want to do a feature on ethical leadership in crisis. You'd be the cover story. No. It's good for business. I said no. I didn't help Grace for publicity. I'm not going to profit from her story now. David sighed. Fine. What about the rebrand project? How's Grace doing with that? She just started drawing again today. Give her time. The timeline can be flexible. David, she's rebuilding her entire life. If the logos take an extra month, the company will survive. You're being remarkably patient. I'm being human. You should try it sometime. David left at 4 and Michael went to check on Grace. She was still in the studio, surrounded by sketches. Dozens of them. The garden, the house, Noah sleeping, Kelly playing, all of them raw and beautiful and real. These are incredible, Michael said. Grace looked up startled. They're just practice. They're not what you need for the rebrand. Why not? Because you need professional work. Logos and brochures, not sketches of your house. Michael picked up a drawing of Kelly holding Noah, both of them laughing. This is more professional than anything I've seen in 10 years of marketing materials. This has heart. That's what we need. You're just being nice. I'm being honest. Grace, these are good, really good. So stop doubting yourself and start believing me. Grace's eyes filled with tears. I forgot how it feels to create something. Then keep remembering. That night they had dinner together, all of them. Michael, Margaret, Kelly, Grace, and Noah in his high chair, gumming a piece of bread. It felt normal, almost like a family. Kelly talked non-stop about the bulbs she'd planted. And Margaret says in spring there'll be tulips, red and yellow and pink. Can Grace stay until spring to see them? Michael and Grace exchanged a look. We'll see, sweetheart, Michael said. That means yes, Kelly announced confidently. Adults always say we'll see when they mean yes, but don't want to promise. Grace laughed. She's got you figured out. She's got everyone figured out. Too smart for her own good. After dinner, Kelly insisted on a game. They played Candyland on the living room floor, Kelly winning by suspicious margins that suggested she was moving her piece extra spaces when no one was looking. I won fair and square, she protested when Michael called her out. You moved 4 spaces on a red card. Did not. Kelly Grace Carter. Kelly froze. You used my full name. Am I in trouble? That depends. Are you cheating? Kelly looked at Grace, then at Margaret, then back at Michael. Maybe a little, Grace burst out laughing. At least she's honest. Honest cheating, that's a new one. But Michael was smiling too. They put Kelly to bed at 8. She made Grace promise to check on her before going to sleep, and made Michael promise to leave the hallway light on, and made Margaret promise to make chocolate chip pancakes in the morning. She's good at extracting promises, Grace observed as they left Kelly's room. It's a skill she perfected after Sarah died. If she could get promises, she felt more secure, like the world was less likely to change. Does it work? Sometimes. Other times the world changes anyway, and we all pretend we're fine. They walked downstairs together. Margaret had already retired to her room. Noah was asleep. The house was quiet. Want some tea? Michael offered. Sure. They sat in the kitchen drinking chamomile, not quite comfortable, but not uncomfortable either. Can I ask you something? Grace said. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Okay. Do you ever regret it, not helping me? I mean, do you ever wish you'd chosen differently? Sold to Reynolds, avoided the scandal, kept your life simple. Michael thought about it, really thought. No, the scandal was hard. Almost losing the company was terrifying, but simple isn't always better. And Grace helping you reminded me who I wanted to be, so no regrets. Even though Kelly's calling me almost mommy, Michael went still. You heard that. I hear everything. The walls are thin and she has a loud voice. Grace smiled sadly. I told her I'm not her mommy, that her real mommy is in heaven and very special, and I could never replace her. What did she say? She said, I know, but you're here and she's not, so you're almost. Then she asked if Noah could call you almost daddy, and I nearly dropped the book. Michael laughed despite himself. What did you tell her? I said we'd have to ask you first. So, can Noah call you almost daddy? Grace, I'm kidding, sort of. The point is, Kelly's attaching to me, to this situation, and I'm worried that when I eventually leave, it's going to hurt her. Who says you're leaving? Michael, I can't stay here forever. This isn't my house. You're not my family. This is temporary. It doesn't have to be. The words hung in the air between them. Grace stared at her tea. What are you saying? I'm saying the guest house is yours as long as you want it. The job is real. This doesn't have to be temporary unless you want it to be. But eventually you'll meet someone, remarry maybe, and then where do I fit the charity case you helped once? You're not a charity case. Then what am I? Michael opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. You're someone I care about, someone Kelly cares about, someone who belongs here. That's what you are. Grace's eyes were shining. You can't just say things like that. Why not? Because it makes me hope, and hope is dangerous, or necessary. Grace, for 2 years I didn't hope for anything. I just existed. And then I met you, and suddenly I'm hoping again. For Kelly's future, for the company, for myself. You did that. So maybe hope isn't dangerous. Maybe it's the whole point. Grace wiped her eyes. You're too good at words. I'm really not. I'm terrible at words. Ask anyone who's ever had to sit through one of my board presentations. Grace laughed, watery but real. I should go to bed. Noah will be up at 5. Grace, wait. About what I said. Don't take it back. Please, just let me have it for tonight. She left before Michael could respond, and he sat alone in the kitchen staring at his tea, wondering when helping a stranger had turned into something he couldn't quite name. The next morning brought a surprise. A package arrived for Grace. Large, flat, professionally wrapped. Margaret brought it to the guest house where Grace was working. This came for you. Grace stared at the package like it might explode. I don't understand. I didn't order anything. Open it and find out. Inside was a canvas, professional grade, pre-stretched, and a set of oil paints. The expensive kind. The kind art students dreamed about but could never afford. There was a note. For when you're ready to paint something bigger, you have talent. Use it. M. Grace ran to the main house, found Michael in his office on a video call. I'm sorry to interrupt. Michael muted the call. What's wrong? The paints, the canvas. Michael, these are too much. They're a work expense for the rebrand project. The rebrand project doesn't need oil paintings. It needs whatever you need to create your best work. If that's oil paintings, then it's oil paintings. But, Grace, stop arguing and just say thank you. Grace's lip trembled. Thank you. You're welcome. Now go make something beautiful. She did. Over the next week, Grace painted. Not logos or brochures. She painted what she felt. The bench at Rockefeller Center, Kelly's scarf wrapped around Noah, the view from the penthouse window, Michael's face the first time he'd held Noah, fear and determination mixing into something fierce. Michael found her in the studio late one night, paint in her hair, exhausted but glowing. Can't sleep, he asked. Don't want to. If I sleep, I might wake up and this might be a dream. It's not a dream. Grace gestured at the canvases lining the walls. Then what is it? Because 3 weeks ago I was sleeping on a bench, and now I'm in a mansion painting at midnight because I want to, not because I have to. How does that happen? It happens because you survived long enough to be saved, and because sometimes the universe gets it right. Grace put down her brush. Michael, I need to tell you something, and I need you to not make a big deal about it. Okay. I called a gallery today, in the city, the one that rejected me when I was at NYU. I sent them photos of these paintings. And they want to show them, not like a full exhibition, just a small showing, 3 pieces, but they want to include my story. Homeless artist finds redemption, that whole narrative. How do you feel about that? Conflicted. Part of me wants to tell them to shove their narrative, but part of me thinks if my story helps someone else, maybe it's worth it. What did you tell them? I said I'd think about it because I wanted to talk to you first. It's your story too, and Kelly's. I won't do it if you're not comfortable. Michael walked over to one of the paintings, the one of him holding Noah. He barely recognized himself. The man in the painting looked vulnerable, human, nothing like the controlled CEO he'd worked so hard to become. Do it, he said. Tell your story, our story. Maybe someone needs to hear it. You're sure? I'm sure. 2 days later, Grace agreed to the gallery showing. It would happen in 4 weeks, 3 paintings, a small reception, nothing major, but it was a start. Michael threw himself into helping her prepare. He hired a professional photographer to document the paintings. He had the gallery's lawyer review the contracts. He even offered to attend the opening, though Grace insisted he didn't have to. You've done enough, she said. I want to be there. Why? Because I'm proud of you, and because someone should be there who knows what these paintings cost. Grace didn't argue. The weeks passed in a blur. Grace painted, Michael worked, Kelly started pre-K. Margaret organized the household. Noah learned to roll over. Life happened in small, ordinary ways that felt miraculous after everything. Then 10 days before the gallery opening, Grace's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Grace, it's Dad. Grace's hand tightened on the phone. How did you get this number? Your gallery posted about the showing. We saw the announcement. We'd like to come to see your work. No. Grace, please. We made mistakes. We know that. But you're our daughter. I stopped being your daughter when you threw me out. You don't get to come back now because it's convenient. It's not about convenience. It's about family. Grace laughed bitterly. Family is the people who stay when things get hard. You left. So did Mom. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Don't come to the opening. Don't call again. And don't pretend you care now that I have something you can be proud of. She hung up, turned off her phone, sat shaking in the middle of the studio. Michael found her there 20 minutes later. Grace, they want to come to the opening. My parents. They saw the announcement, and now suddenly they care. Michael sat beside her. What did you tell them? I told them no. I told them to stay away. Was that wrong? They're my parents. Maybe I should. You should do exactly what you did. You set a boundary. That's not wrong. That's healthy. But what if I regret it? What if someday I wish I'd given them another chance? Then someday you can make a different choice. But Grace, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting people hurt you again just because they share your DNA. You get to decide who deserves access to your life. And right now they don't. That's okay. When Grace leaned against him, and Michael let her, and they sat like that until Noah woke up crying, and the moment passed. The night before the gallery opening, Michael couldn't sleep. He found himself standing in the studio at 2 a.m., looking at Grace's paintings by moonlight. Margaret's voice came from behind him. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" "Yeah, they are. She's talented. I see why you want to help her." "It's not about wanting to help anymore." "No, then what's it about?" Michael touched the painting of himself holding Noah. "I don't know. Something more, something I can't name yet." "Michael, can I give you some advice? Do I have a choice?" "Not really. Stop fighting it." "Fighting what?" "Whatever you're feeling. I see how you look at her, how she looks at you, how Kelly calls her almost mommy, and you don't correct her. Stop fighting it and let yourself feel something. She's 21. She's a woman who's survived more than most people twice her age. Stop using her age as an excuse." "Margaret, Sarah is gone, Michael. I loved my daughter more than anything in this world. But she's gone, and you're still here. You're allowed to live. You're allowed to love again. Sarah would want that." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do, because 2 days before she died, she made me promise something. She said if anything happened to her, I had to make sure you didn't close yourself off, that you'd find someone else someday, someone who'd love you and Kelly and make you laugh again. She made me promise, Michael, and I'm keeping that promise now. So stop fighting whatever this is with Grace and let yourself feel it." Margaret left him there alone with the paintings and his thoughts, and the memory of Sarah's voice saying goodbye. The next morning, Michael woke up knowing what he had to do, but before he could act, Grace knocked on his door. The gallery called. They sold all 3 paintings before the opening even started. Some collector saw the photos and bought them all. "That's incredible. I know. I don't know what to do with myself. I've never sold anything before." "You celebrate. Tonight at the opening you celebrate. Will you still come, even though the paintings are sold?" "Of course I'm coming. I promised, didn't I?" The gallery was in Chelsea, small but prestigious. When they arrived that evening, Michael, Grace, Kelly, Margaret, and even Noah in his carrier, there were already 50 people inside. Grace froze on the sidewalk. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can," Michael said. "There are so many people. What if they judge me? What if—" Kelly grabbed Grace's hand. "They'll love you, just like we do. Come on." And with the 4-year-old leading the way, they walked inside. The paintings were hung on the main wall, spotlit, labeled with Grace's name and the title she'd chosen, New Beginnings. People crowded around them, critics, collectors, other artists, all of them murmuring appreciation. The gallery owner, a woman named Patricia, rushed over. "Grace, there you are. Come meet some people. Everyone wants to talk to you." For the next 2 hours, Grace was pulled from person to person, answering questions, telling abbreviated versions of her story, accepting praise she clearly didn't believe she deserved. Michael watched from across the room, Kelly on his hip, Margaret beside him. "She's glowing," Margaret observed. "She is." "You should tell her." "Tell her what?" "Oh, Michael, for a smart man, you can be remarkably dense." But before Michael could respond, a commotion at the door drew everyone's attention. Grace's parents had come anyway. Grace's father looked older than Michael expected. Mid-50s, graying hair, expensive suit that didn't quite hide the exhaustion in his eyes. Her mother stood beside him, smaller, anxious, clutching a purse like a shield. The gallery went quiet. Everyone was watching. Grace stood frozen in the center of the room, her face drained of color. Michael moved instinctively, positioning himself between her and her parents, Kelly still on his hip. "Grace," her father started, "we just want to talk." "I told you not to come." Grace's voice shook but held. "I told you I didn't want you here. We're your parents. We have a right. You have nothing." Grace stepped around Michael, facing them directly. "You threw me out when I was pregnant and scared and alone. You chose your pride over your daughter. You don't get to walk back in now because it's convenient." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "Grace, please, we made a mistake. We were wrong, but you're our daughter and we love you." You loved who you wanted me to be, the perfect scholarship student, the girl who made you proud, but the second I became someone different, someone real, you threw me away like I was nothing. That's not fair. Fair. Grace's voice rose. You want to talk about fair? I slept on benches, Mom. I begged for food. I watched my baby turn blue from the cold and thought he was going to die in my arms. Where were you then? Where was your love then? Patricia, the gallery owner, stepped forward nervously. Perhaps we should take this outside. No. Grace's voice cut like glass. Let them stay. Let everyone hear this. Let them see what happens when parents decide their reputation matters more than their child. Grace's father flinched. We were protecting you from making mistakes. I made mistakes anyway, and you know what? I survived them. Without you, I found people who actually cared whether Noah and I lived or died. People who saw me at my absolute worst and helped anyway. So don't stand there and tell me you love me, because if you did, you would have been there when I needed you, not now when it's easy. Kelly squirmed in Michael's arms. Daddy, why is Grace crying? Because sometimes grown-ups hurt each other, Michael said quietly, even when they're family. That's sad. Very sad. Grace's mother took a step forward. Please, Grace, let us meet our grandson. Let us be part of your life. We'll do better. I promise we'll do better. For a moment, Grace wavered. Michael could see it in her face, the war between the daughter who still wanted her parents' approval and the woman who'd learned to survive without it. Then Noah made a small noise from his carrier. Grace looked down at him and something in her expression hardened. No, she said. You don't get to meet him. You don't get to call him your grandson, because grandparents are people who show up, who care, who sacrifice. And you're not those people. Grace, I have a family now, people who chose to love me when they didn't have to, who gave me a chance when everyone else walked away, and I'm not risking that for people who might hurt me again. So please, leave. Her father's face reddened. You can't just... I can. This is my event, my life, my choice, and I'm choosing them. Grace gestured at Michael Margaret Kelly. I'm choosing the people who actually stayed. So go, and don't come back. Grace's mother was crying openly now. Someday you'll regret this. Someday, when you have grandchildren of your own, you'll understand how much this hurts. Maybe, Grace said, but that's a problem for someday. Today, I'm protecting my son, the way you should have protected me. Michael watched Grace's parents leave their shoulders hunched with defeat. The gallery remained silent for a long moment. Then someone started clapping, one person, then another. Then the entire room erupted in applause. Grace stood in the center of it all, shaking, tears streaming down her face. Patricia rushed over with tissues and water. Other guests offered sympathetic smiles and words of support, but Grace only looked at Michael. He handed Kelly to Margaret and crossed the room to her. You were incredible, he said. I was terrified. You were both. But Grace, you set a boundary. You protected yourself and Noah. That took courage. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Michael almost laughed. That's normal. Come on, let's get some air. They stepped outside into the cool March evening. The city hummed around them, indifferent to their small drama. Grace leaned against the building, breathing deeply. Do you think I did the right thing? She asked. Do you? I don't know. They're my parents. What if I never see them again? Then you never see them again, and that will hurt. But Grace, you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, even your parents. Grace smiled weakly. That's very wise. I stole it from Sarah. She used to say it all the time. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Inside, the party continued. Outside, it was just the two of them. Michael, Grace said quietly, can I ask you something? Always. Why did you really help me that night? And don't say it was for Kelly. There's more to it. I know there is. Michael looked at the sky, gathering his thoughts. When Sarah died, I stopped believing in second chances. I thought life was just about getting through each day without falling apart. And then I saw you on that bench, and I saw someone who needed a second chance so desperately. And I thought if I can give her one, maybe it means they exist. Maybe it means I can have one too. A second chance at what? At living, at being more than just a father and a CEO, at being human again. Grace turned to face him. And did it work? Michael met her eyes. Yeah, it did. Something shifted between them. The air felt charged, full of things unsaid. Grace opened her mouth to speak, but the gallery door burst open. Kelly ran out, Margaret chasing after her. Daddy, Grace, the gallery lady says people want to buy more paintings. Can Grace make more paintings? The moment broke. Grace laughed, the tension dissolving. I can make more paintings, sweetheart. Good, because I want one for my room. Can you paint Noah and me with the tulips when they grow? I can definitely paint that. They went back inside, back to the party, back to the real world. But something had changed. Michael felt it. The way Grace's hand brushed his as they walked, the way she smiled at him over Kelly's head, the way Margaret watched them both with knowing eyes. The party wound down around 10. Patricia pulled Grace aside to discuss a possible full exhibition in 6 months. A collector wanted to commission a series. An art magazine wanted an interview. Grace's life was changing in real time. They drove back to Connecticut in comfortable silence, Kelly asleep in her car seat. Noah dozing in his carrier, Margaret humming softly in the passenger seat. You okay? Michael asked Grace. I don't know. I feel like I should be celebrating, but mostly I just feel exhausted. That's normal. You confronted your parents, sold your first paintings, and started a career, all in one night. Exhaustion is appropriate. When you put it that way, I sound very accomplished. You are very accomplished. Grace smiled. 3 months ago, I was sleeping on a bench. Now I'm accomplished. Life is weird. Life is weird, Michael agreed. They arrived home just before midnight. Margaret took Kelly straight to bed. Michael helped Grace get Noah settled in the guest house. Thank you, Grace said as Michael was leaving. For tonight, for everything. You don't have to keep thanking me. I know, but I want to. You changed my life, Michael, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to repay that. You already have. Every day you're here, every time you make Kelly laugh, every painting you create, you're repaying it. So stop keeping score. Grace walked him to the door. They stood awkwardly, neither quite ready to say goodnight. Michael, Grace. They both stopped, laughed. You first, Michael said. Grace took a breath. What Margaret said the other day about Sarah wanting you to move on, to find someone. Do you think she was right? Michael's heart started pounding. I don't know, maybe. Would it be crazy if I said I think about it sometimes, about you, about us, about what this could be if we let it? Grace, you're 21. Stop. Stop using my age as an excuse. I'm 21 and I've survived things that would break most people. I'm not a child, and you're not taking advantage of me. So if you feel something, if this is real, stop hiding behind excuses. Michael stared at her, this young woman who'd been so fragile 3 months ago, now standing in front of him with absolute certainty, demanding honesty. I don't know what I feel, he admitted. I know I think about you constantly. I know Kelly lights up when you're around. I know the house feels empty when you're not in it. But Grace, I lost my wife, and I'm terrified of losing someone again, of letting myself feel something and having it ripped away. So you'd rather feel nothing. I'd rather feel safe. Grace reached up and touched his face. Safe is overrated. I've been playing it safe my whole life. Following rules, making my parents proud, being good. And where did that get me? Homeless and alone. So maybe safe isn't the answer. Maybe brave is. You want me to be brave. I want you to be honest, with yourself, with me. Do you feel something? Michael closed his eyes, thought of Sarah, thought of the promise Margaret said she'd made, thought of Kelly calling Grace almost mommy and not correcting her, thought of 3 months of small moments that had added up to something he couldn't ignore anymore. Yes, he whispered, I feel something. Then that's enough, for now. We don't have to name it or define it or rush it, but Michael, stop fighting it, please, because I'm falling for you and I need to know if I'm falling alone. Michael opened his eyes, looked at this incredible woman who'd survived so much, and was still brave enough to be vulnerable. "You're not falling alone," he said. Grace smiled, actually smiled. "Good, that's good. But Grace, we take this slow, for Kelly's sake, for Noah's. We don't rush into anything." "Okay. And you tell me if I ever make you uncomfortable, or if this feels wrong, or if—" Grace kissed him, quick and soft and over before Michael could process it. "Stop overthinking," she said. "We'll figure it out, together, okay?" Michael touched his lips, stunned. "Okay." Grace went inside, leaving Michael standing alone in the darkness, feeling like his entire world had just tilted sideways again. But this time, instead of falling, he felt like he was flying. The next morning, Michael woke to Kelly bouncing on his bed. "Daddy, the tulips are starting. Margaret says they'll bloom in 2 weeks. Can we have a party when they bloom? Can Grace paint them? Can Noah come? Can we have cake?" Michael groaned. "What time is it?" 7. "Get up. We have to tell Grace about the tulips." Michael let Kelly drag him downstairs, still in his pajamas, to find Grace and Margaret already in the kitchen making breakfast. "The tulips are coming," Kelly announced. "We have to celebrate," Grace laughed. "We can definitely celebrate. With a party, if your dad says it's okay." Kelly turned pleading eyes on Michael. He couldn't resist. "Fine, a party, when the tulips bloom, but a small party." "Yay!" Kelly hugged his legs, then ran off to tell Noah the good news, even though Noah was 6 months old and wouldn't understand. Margaret poured Michael coffee. "You look different." "I haven't had coffee yet." "No, you look happy, lighter. Did something happen?" Michael glanced at Grace, who was suddenly very interested in the eggs she was scrambling. "Maybe, we'll see." Margaret smiled knowingly. "Good, about time." The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of ordinary magic. Grace worked on new paintings, Michael ran his company, Kelly prepared for her tulip party with the seriousness of a wedding planner. Noah learned to giggle, Margaret orchestrated everything from behind the scenes, and Michael and Grace figured out what they were becoming. Small touches, hands brushing during dinner, sitting closer on the couch during movies, Grace falling asleep on Michael's shoulder after long days in the studio, Michael bringing her coffee in the mornings. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just natural progression. Kelly noticed, of course. Kelly noticed everything. "Are you and Grace boyfriend and girlfriend now?" she asked one night during bath time. Michael almost dropped the shampoo bottle. "What makes you ask that? You look at her like Prince Eric looks at Ariel, and she smiles different when you're around. Margaret says you're courting." "Courting is an old-fashioned word." "Is it true, though?" Michael helped Kelly rinse her hair. "Would it be okay with you if Grace and I were more than friends?" Kelly considered this seriously. "Would she still be here, her and Noah?" "Yes." "Would you still be my daddy?" "Always." "Would Grace be like a mommy?" Michael's chest tightened. "She'd never replace your real mommy, but yes, she might be like a mommy, if that's what happens. Someday." Kelly nodded slowly. "Okay, I think that's good, because mommy's in heaven and she can't come back, but Grace is here, and she makes you not sad anymore, so I think mommy would like her." Michael had to turn away to hide his tears. "I think she would too, sweetheart." The tulips bloomed on a Saturday in late March, red and yellow and pink, just like Margaret had promised. Kelly woke everyone at dawn to see them. "They're perfect. The party can happen today. Right, Daddy, today." Michael looked at Grace, who laughed and shrugged. "I'll make calls," Margaret said. "We can have people here by 3. The party was small. David came from the city, Marcus and Dr. Rivera, Patricia from the gallery, a few of Kelly's pre-K classmates with their parents, people who'd become important over the past 3 months. Kelly wore a princess dress and insisted Noah wear a bow tie. Grace had finished the painting of them with the tulips. She unveiled it at the party, and Kelly cried happy tears. "It's us. It's really us, Daddy. Look, it's us and the tulips." In the painting, Kelly knelt in the garden with Noah in her lap, surrounded by blooming flowers, sunlight breaking through winter clouds. It was joy captured on canvas, new life after darkness. "Can we keep it forever?" Kelly asked. "Forever," Grace promised. As the party wound down, Michael found Grace standing alone in the garden, looking at the real tulips. "Penny for your thoughts." Grace smiled. "I was just thinking how 3 months ago I didn't know if Noah and I would survive the winter, and now we're at a garden party celebrating flowers. Life is strange. Life is beautiful." "That too." Michael took her hand. "I have something to tell you. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I wanted to wait until the time was right." Grace's eyes widened. "Okay." "The guest house. I want to transfer the deed to your name, make it legally yours, so you never have to worry about having a home again." Grace stared at him. "Michael, I can't accept." "You can, and you will, because you deserve security. You deserve to know that no matter what happens between us, you and Noah have a place to call home. Please, let me do this." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "Why? Why do you keep giving me things?" "Because I can, and because you matter, and because 3 months ago you reminded me what it means to be human. Let me return the favor." Grace threw her arms around him, holding tight. "Thank you for everything, for seeing me, for saving us, for being exactly who you are." Michael held her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the warmth of her against him. "Thank you for letting me." They stood like that for a long moment, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and built something beautiful in the light. Kelly's voice rang out from the house. "Daddy, Grace, come see Noah's trying to eat cake." They pulled apart laughing and ran inside together to rescue the baby from chocolate frosting. That night, after the guests had left, and Kelly was asleep and Noah was down and Margaret had retired, Michael and Grace sat on the terrace watching stars. "I've been thinking," Grace said, "about what you said, about second chances." "Yeah, I think you were wrong. This isn't a second chance. It's a first real chance to build a life that's mine, a first real chance to be loved for who I actually am, a first real chance to be happy." Michael threaded his fingers through hers. "Then let's not waste it. Deal." They sat in comfortable silence, and Michael thought about the journey that had brought them here, the bench, the choice, the scandal, the fight, all of it leading to this moment, this peace, this unexpected family. His phone buzzed. Text from Margaret. "Stop overthinking and kiss her already. Sarah's probably screaming at you from heaven." Michael laughed. Grace looked at him questioningly. "What's funny?" "Margaret says I should kiss you." Grace raised an eyebrow. "And what do you say?" Michael cupped her face in his hands, looking into those green eyes that had seen so much darkness and still held so much light. "I say she's right." He kissed her, soft and gentle and full of promise. Grace kissed him back, her hands in his hair, and for the first time in 2 years, Michael felt complete. When they pulled apart, Grace was smiling. "About time. I'm a slow learner. Good thing I'm patient." Inside the house, through the window, Kelly appeared at the top of the stairs. She saw them, smiled, and gave an enthusiastic thumbs up before running back to bed. Michael and Grace laughed. "Subtle," Grace said. "She gets it from her mother." They stayed on the terrace until the stars came out in force, talking about everything and nothing, making plans and breaking them, learning how to be together. And in the morning, Kelly would wake them early again. Noah would need feeding. Margaret would orchestrate breakfast. The tulips would keep blooming. Life would continue in all its messy, beautiful, complicated glory. But for now, in this moment, everything was perfect. 6 months later, Grace's full exhibition opened at the gallery. 20 paintings, all of them chronicling the journey from darkness to light. The bench, the hotel, the Connecticut house, Kelly and Noah, Michael's face in 100 different expressions, new beginnings captured in oil and canvas. Grace's parents didn't come, but Grace didn't need them to. She had Michael and Kelly and Margaret and Noah. She had a career and a home and a future. She had everything that mattered. On the final wall hung her masterpiece, the painting she'd worked on for 3 months, pouring everything into it. It showed a man and a small girl standing at Rockefeller Center looking at a bench where a woman held a baby, the moment of choice. The second before everything changed. She'd titled it, "Sometimes Angels Wear Old Sweaters." Kelly saw it and grabbed Grace's hand. "That's us. That's the night Daddy saved you." "No, sweetheart," Grace said, kneeling down. "That's the night you saved me. You're the one who saw me. You're the one who asked your daddy to help. You're the real hero." Kelly beamed. "Can I tell everyone that you can tell everyone anything you want?" And Kelly did. She told everyone who would listen about the night she found an angel on a bench, about her daddy being brave, about Grace and Noah becoming family, about second chances and new beginnings, and how sometimes the best things come from the scariest moments. People listened, and some of them cried, and some of them smiled, and some of them went home and looked at their own lives and wondered what they'd been too afraid to do. Because that's what stories do. They change people. They plant seeds. And months later, when Michael proposed to Grace on the terrace under the stars, with Kelly's enthusiastic approval and Noah clapping his chubby hands and Margaret crying happy tears, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Grace said yes without hesitation, because she'd learned that safe wasn't the answer. Brave was. And Michael slipped a ring on her finger and thought about Sarah, about the promise Margaret said she'd made, about letting go without forgetting, about loving again without replacing, about being human enough to embrace the mess and the joy and the fear and the hope all at once. The wedding was small, spring again with the tulips in full bloom. Kelly was the flower girl. Noah was the ring bearer, though he mostly tried to eat the rings. Margaret cried through the entire ceremony. David gave a speech about courage and redemption. Patricia came from the gallery. Marcus stood as Michael's best man, which surprised everyone, including Marcus. And when Michael and Grace exchanged vows, promising to love each other through darkness and light, through fear and hope, through every beautiful, terrifying, ordinary moment, Kelly whispered to Noah, "See, I told you. Sometimes angels wear old sweaters, and sometimes daddies get to be happy again." Years later, when people asked Grace how she survived, how she built a life from nothing, she'd smile and tell them the truth. She didn't survive alone. She survived because a little girl with brown eyes and a big heart saw her when everyone else looked away. Because a grieving widower chose compassion over convenience. Because a grandmother kept a promise to her daughter. Because people showed up when it mattered. And because sometimes on the coldest nights, when you think you can't survive one more minute, someone stops. Someone sees you. Someone chooses to help. And that choice changes everything. Michael never forgot that night at Rockefeller Center, the moment Kelly tugged his hand, the choice that nearly cost him everything and gave him back his life. Sometimes he'd drive past that bench, the one where he'd found Grace, and he'd remember the fear, the uncertainty, the absolute conviction that he was making the right choice, even if it destroyed him. And he'd think, "I'd do it again." Every time, without hesitation. Because that's what love is, not the romantic kind, though, that came later, the human kind, the kind that sees someone suffering and can't walk away, the kind that costs something and gives back more, the kind that saves everyone involved. Kelly grew up telling the story, to her friends, her teachers, eventually to her own children, the night her daddy saved an angel, the night everything changed, the night she learned that being brave means doing the right thing even when it's hard. And Noah grew up knowing he was loved. By his mother who'd sacrificed everything for him, by the man who'd become his father in every way that mattered, by the sister who'd fought for him before he could fight for himself. They all grew, they all changed, they all became something more than they'd been before. Because one little girl looked at a bench on Christmas Eve and saw what others missed. One CEO chose humanity over reputation. One homeless mother found the courage to accept help. And one baby survived the cold. That's all it took. One choice, one moment of compassion, one second chance to change everything, to build a family from broken pieces, to prove that sometimes angels really do wear old sweaters. And sometimes when you're brave enough to help a stranger, you save yourself too.